Hey guys, as you can tell, I'm in a different location for today. I'm here at Caitlin's, if you remember back from some parts of my MegaCon vlogs, and for just the whole, the 100 subscriber thing, the Chubby Bunny Challenge. I can words. So, I'm at her house because we were watching Once Upon a Time because that came on today. So this has been a long time coming, but this is the July and August AniManga Reviews. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. It is also midnight and I'm trying to be as quiet as possible. So I'm gonna try and get this review done really fast. But I don't know how possible that's going to be. This is in no particular order, I'm just going. So one manga, these are starting off with manga. So one of the manga I read was called Nakigao ni Kiss, and it's basically about this crybaby girl who's in love with this older guy, and the older guy she thinks is in love with her older sister. It was just a really cliche kind of love story manga, and I don't know, it was alright. I gave it a 8 out of 10 just because, it was kind of cliche. So, and also for reference, I do have a piece of paper here with all my notes and stuff on it that I wrote on, and so yeah, I'm literally just gonna read off this, so sorry if I don't make a lot of eye contact. So the next thing I read was a whole bunch of one-shots called Ghost wa Kiss o Kirao, and it was just, like I said, this series of one-shots. It was kind of an older style, so with the one-shots every single thing is different. It was okay. I liked it enough that I'd give it a 9 out of 10. This next one I really liked. It's called Reime no Arcana, and it's about this girl, Nakaba, who has red hair, and she's basically the princess of this country called Seinan, and she has an attendant named Loki, who is a sub-person, which basically means you're a mix of an animal and a human. And so Nakaba ends up marrying this guy Caesar, who's the prince of Belquat. And the story is really cool because you find out that Nakaba has this power called the Arcana, and there are a lot of different kinds of Arcana. So Reime no Arcana is I think the Arcana of time, and basically what happens is she can see possible outcomes. So she has in her mind, it's this long hallway of doors, and if you enter a door you get to see one possibility, if you go in another door you see a different possibility. And so basically she has to make this choice, but the more you use the power, the faster it kills you. And it's kind of a history kind of thing, a fantasy thing, a romantic kind of thing, because you also find out that Loki is in love with Nakaba, but Caesar's and you kind of have the love story between Caesar and Nakaba as it kind of develops from Nakaba not really caring for Caesar that much, and how that kind of changes. So I just really loved it, and I gave it 10 out of 10 because it was so great. The ending, though, is not exactly the best possible outcome, so I did cry at the end of Reime no Arcana because it was just so messed up. I can't even. Okay, so the next manga I'm going to talk about is called Wataniki ni wa Boku ga Tanai, I think. Is that what I wrote? I don't know. Basically, it's about this girl, Wataniki Layla, whose family owns this love hotel, and she, as a kid, thought it was the coolest thing ever. And she grows up and then goes, oh, it's a love hotel. Oh, and a lot of kids her age would make fun of her for it because you get the point. But so they'd make fun of her, and but there's this guy who's like the class president, Owaru, and basically he finds out, and it's kind of a little love story between them. I don't think the story had developed that much, but one of my favorite mangakas, Toyama Emma, does this manga, and it's just really awesome, and it's so great, and I loved it, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. Next is Cinderella Shindo. Basically it's about this girl who wants this Cinderella love story and ends up meeting this guy who's like this prince figurehead, but actually is not really a prince. It's a one-shot. It's basically, she ends up getting bullied because she ends up knowing this guy, she ends up talking with this guy, and she gets saved. The story's really cliche, but it had some really cool art that I liked, so I gave it an 8 out of 10, which is kind of pretty much the average. Like, it's alright, but not like one of my favorites. Next is Costumey, and I actually picked this up from a library down in Jupiter when I was visiting my great-grandma, and so we went to that library and I picked up some books, and one of the manga I picked out was called Costumey, and it's about this girl Costumey who is really into like magic tricks and stuff like that, and she ends up moving to this elite school with her dad, who's a scientist, I think, and one day while she's somewhere, I forget, but they stop somewhere and she climbs this tree and she falls and she's like about to die, but she gets saved by like this spirit or by the tree, I forget. Basically she's saved, and she now basically has the power to turn invisible whenever she holds her breath, and this kind of catches the attention of the school's #1 guy, Shirayuki, and basically becomes this target of his fan Reina, and I like it. The story is very different, and the art is very different, so I enjoyed that and appreciated that, and it was just really cool. I loved it a lot. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Next I'm going to talk about Me Momiji. It's basically about this guy Shota, whose high school ends up becoming this site for a drama series, and this guy Shota has a crush on a girl who he had ended up taking a picture of in like passing, and finds out that this girl, what's her name? Shinomiya. Yeah, basically, Shinomiya. And Shinomiya has actually never fallen in love, and so she's having trouble with the acting because the drama is supposed to be about this love story, and so she has trouble because she's never fallen in love, and so she basically asks out Shota, and then it's kind of their story through that. I thought it was really, really cute, and I loved it a lot. It was just, it kind of starts off at the end too, which I kind of liked, because you get like a feel for what the whole story is going to be about, and then it just goes back into the first chapter, and then it's like tells you the story from the very beginning. It's just really cute. I loved it so much. 9 out of 10. Next, I read No Game No Life, which if you haven't seen the anime, then I really recommend that you do. If you haven't seen the anime, I really recommend that you do. For the manga, though, it hasn't quite developed as far as the anime did, so the anime probably just took its own little spin, and yeah, the manga's just where it didn't get that far, and I think there are like 7 chapters or something like that. It's basically the same as anime. Sora and there's these 2 siblings, but not blood related. Sora and Shiro, who basically are masters at games. Like, they're amazing at games. They basically hate the world. They hate Earth because they're treated very poorly, and they just don't like people. So they end up going, we hate this, and they ended up getting invited into this game and ended up going into this world of games where everything is solved with games, like, any fights you have with people, you solve that with a game. The country's borders and stuff are decided with a game. And their basic goal is to rule over the entire world, but they have to also save the humans or humanity. But I gave the manga an 8 out of 10 because I really like the story, but I think I don't know, I want to see what direction the manga will take, if it'll even continue. Next is a manga called Honey X Honey Drops. It's basically about this girl, Yuzuru, who's poor but ends up becoming this rich guy, Kai's honey, and the honeys are the assistants to the rich people that are marked with earrings that are like locked onto them with a certain code, but the earrings each have like a special, like, what's the word? The family's emblem, basically. So it's just this love story between them, and also kind of her struggle to be like, I don't want to be owned by a person, but when you're also a honey, your schooling is like paid for, and your family's taken care of, and all that kind of stuff. So she has that kind of struggle, and Kai also treats a lot of his honeys, you know, like garbage, basically. They're like, they have no worth as girls and blah blah blah. But the honeys don't have to be girls. That's also another thing. But as the story progressed, like, I didn't think I was gonna like it that much, but I ended up actually loving it and giving it a 10 out of 10 because I also kind of like the artwork. It was unique in its own way. So next is Sono Kuchibiru Itadakimasu, which is basically a series of one-shots, and the main one-shot is about this girl, Sana, who wants to kiss this guy Aki because he has a mole on his lip, and because she's poor, she thinks that if she kisses him that things will suddenly change for her. And I thought the story was kind of ridiculous, and I didn't care for it too much, but I still kind of liked it. So I gave the set of one-shots a 7 out of 10. Next is one called Neco to Watashi no Kili, and this one is kind of sketchy, so you may not like this as much as I did, but it's basically about this girl, Ai, who likes cute things and likes this senpai of hers, Shirizawa. She ends up also having to, but the story is basically that she ends up having to be a tutor for her cousin Nekota, who actually likes Ai, but you know, Ai likes her senpai, so Ai thinks her little cousin Nekota is this little angel, but actually he's not. He's actually quite the little devil, and so this is kind of sketchy because you may start to think like incest and that kind of thing because, you know, cousin, that's wrong, but I think the way the story goes about it is kind of cute. The art was really my favorite, and just the story was, we don't know, I'm just I have weird tastes. But yeah, I gave the story a 9 out of 10 because I find myself like rereading it for no reason. I'll just go back to it if I'm bored and start reading it, and it's just really cute, and I don't know why I love it so much. It's just great. So this last manga that I'm going to talk about is called Renren's Akari. It's basically about this girl, Sumika, who encounters these two guys, Shima and Hasumi, and they're all first years. She basically encounters them on the first day, and they all get in trouble because, you know, they didn't get to the opening ceremony, and so they all get in trouble, and they end up in the same class, and Sumika ends up getting 100 on like their first test while the other guys do the most poorly in the class. So she ends up having to tutor them for like an entire for a retest that's coming up in a week. And so I'm pretty sure the manga's only like 5 chapters long, but it was really good. I really like the art style. I feel like it's really familiar, like it's probably by a mangaka that I know. Sumika is basically called this goody two shoes, and that was kind of really relatable for me because a lot of people called me goody two shoes. I got good grades in school and blah blah, always dragged into weird situations. But no, it is a love story, so there's a little love triangle that goes on between the three of them, and I was very back and forth between who was going to be with, but it was still good, liked it a lot. So now on to the anime for July. Some of these anime have been going on since July, so, and still haven't ended or have only recently ended, so beware. First one I'm going to talk about is the 3rd season of Kuroko no Basuke, or Kuroko no Basketball, whatever you want to call it. It's basically a story about how Seirin ends up beating... Spoilers. Sorry. If you haven't seen Kuroko no Basuke, or, you know, whatever, then you really should see it. This was also the last season of Kuroko no Basketball, which makes me really sad, and I am going to fluctuate between the two names. I am really ADD right now. But it's a story about how Seirin beats Yosen, and now they're basically in the semifinals for the Winter Cup, and they have to go against a whole bunch of really strong opponents to see if they will win the Winter Cup. And I just really loved I loved the 3rd season, I think, the best, because just a lot of the emotions that were in the last season really killed me, but the animation sometimes was really good, and sometimes the animation was really freaky, because if you've seen on Tumblr, there's one post where Akashi's arm is bending in the wrong way, and you just really just lose. It's funny. Okay. I gave the anime a 10 out of 10 because it was absolutely wonderful. I love it so much. Sports anime is one of my many weaknesses. Next, I'm going to be talking about the 2nd season of Log Horizon, so again, spoilers. If you haven't seen the 1st season, I definitely recommend it. It was hard to get into at first, but once I got into it, it was so great. Kind of has that aspect of Sword Art Online, but it's completely different. There is a common theme where they're trying to get out of the game, but now they've been stuck in the game for like 6 months, and so they're basically just like, okay, what are we gonna do? What's our goals for this? Basically, this Shirayuki and the others just kind of grow as people, and they end up having this war against the goblins, and this girl, princess, I have to read this, Ryanicia, yeah, ends up living in Akiba with them, and it's basically this whole set of, I think there are like 2 different arcs that end up going on in this, so it was really good. I liked it. What did I get? 8 out of 10? 9 out of 10? I don't know. I'll settle on 8. 8 out of 10. Next is the 3rd season of Junjo Romantica, and this is a yaoi, for those of you who don't know. Junjo Romantica, this arc of this part of the season, is basically about the many other couples in this, but the main story is kind of about Misaki and Usagi. Yes, Usagi, who are together, and it's basically about Misaki being like in his last year of college and trying to figure out what he's going to do with the rest of his life, and since he was only allowed to live with Usagi because he was going to college, what is he going to do since now that he's with him, what is he going to tell his brother, blah blah blah, and it's just really, really wonderful, but it is a yaoi for those of you who don't know, so please watch carefully, but so great and wonderful. Yui is just... Next, I'm going to be talking about the third season of Uta no Princesama, and this by far was the worst season of Uta no Princesama. And I say this because the episodes got really repetitive with... oh my gosh, it was just so repetitive where half the episode was the members of Stars going up to Haruka, being like, Haruka, Nanami, Haru-chan, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, we get it, we know her name, you can stop saying it now. But the overall story is that Darish has won this like newcomer award thing, and so now they're starting to get more popular, but now there's this thing called the Triple S, or SSS, that is coming up, and it's only for like the big people, so like Quartet Night gets invited to this, and Starish is like, but we're popular too. And Shining Saotome ends up going, no, you're not popular enough, you don't have what you need, so y'all are gonna break up into teams if you really want to do this and get more popular. So they do, and they all end up forming these teams, and the individual teams go on as like the first, like, I forget, like 5 episodes, and then it moves on to Quartet Night, and Haruka ends up becoming the songwriter for them as well. And it goes on to each of their individual episodes, but I think by far the best part of this season was the last episode, where they actually had a good story going on, and then they had this cliffhanger, and it had me dying, and now I'm just like, you had us go through the entire season with this crap, and you leave us with this great episode, but it's a cliffhanger. Like, what the heck? For that reason, I gave this anime a 6 out of 10. I am salty as heck. So, moving on to one of the better animes of that kind of started in July, was called Akagami no Shirayuki Hime, or Snow White with the Red Hair. And a lot of people have been talking about this, and honestly, I kind of want to be that person that was like, I was here first, because I read the manga a long time ago. I started reading the manga a long time ago. The manga is still going on, and I love it so much. But the anime kind of started off in the same place and then just took its own direction, which made me really upset, because the manga is so fantastic. But the main story is about this girl, Shirayuki, who has red hair, and she basically she wants to be an herbalist, but she ends up running away from her home and cutting her hair because this really dumb prince, what's his name, Raji, basically calls her to be a concubine, and she's like, heck no, and runs away from home. So she ends up going to this neighboring country and meeting this guy, Zen. But, then Raji comes after her, and then you find out that this guy Zen is actually a prince, and like the second prince of the entire country, so he's a huge deal. And then it's basically just different from that point on. The story itself is really good, but I'm still mad about the fact that they changed almost everything about the story. It makes me so mad. I really want them to continue, because it only has like 12 episodes, and I'm like, it went a lot farther than that. We're in, like, really far in, almost in hundreds, I think, into the manga, and it's just really good. So, for that reason, it only gets a 9 out of 10. It would have gotten a 10 out of 10 if it just would have followed the story. Next, I'm going to talk about the 6th season of Hetalia, called Hetalia the World Twinkle. And basically, if you know Hetalia, it has no plot. It's basically just about all the countries and what they do, and this season seems to kind of focus on the smaller countries, but it also kind of, fluctuates to the bigger countries, and it's just really cute. I love how the animation has changed, especially over the years. It went from this kind of flat animation to now it's more shoujo, not really shoujo, like, I don't want to call it, I almost want to call the animation like sparkly. That's what I'm going to call it, sparkly animation. It's very shiny and sparkly, that's the only way I can describe it, shiny and sparkly. Ooh. But yeah, so now I'm going to move on to August, starting with the manga. So the first one I'm going to talk about is called Samadhi Moto, which is about Ai, who promises to be lovers as a kid with this guy Mitsuru. And Mitsuru basically gives her this ring, and they promise to, be lovers when they're older. Why do so many different animes and mangas seem to do this? I don't get it. But yeah, it has a different art style, and I really liked it. Basically, Mitsuru has this twin, Ryo, and Ryo ends up kissing her, and they're actually neighbors, and so basically it's this love triangle, and it's wonderful, and I'm pretty sure it's completed or close to being complete. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's completed, but it was really good and I liked it, so it gets a 9 out of 10. The next one is called Asachun, which is about this girl Akane and this guy Junbei, who have been engaged since birth, another thing that seems to be popular. And Akane lives with Junbei, and they live alone together. They basically end up living alone together for 2 months because his parents are off, like, somewhere else again. These common things, and it is kind of a one-shot type series, but yeah, that's the main story that goes on, and then the other ones. So we gave it an 8 out of 10, just because it was very stereotypical. Next is Atashi Kisushita, again, one-shots. If you haven't noticed, I really like one-shots because I can get through them really fast, and it's really cool to read just in between classes and stuff. They're basically these childhood friends, another cliche. This girl Mayu likes her childhood friend Hikaru, but there is a mutual love there, but Mayu ends up kissing Hikaru suddenly while he's on the phone, and ta-da, love, oh my god, and it's just really cute. I liked it. So, but because of all the cliches, I was like 7 out of 10. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Chikai no Kiss wa 16 Sai, and it's basically about this girl Nobara, who gets a house key from her boyfriend, I want to say, Toga, and he ends up writing a script, and so she ends up it is like a one-shot, but she ends up thinking that, like, he's only following a script, and so blah blah blah. I won't really spoil it, but you get the idea. And she gets mad, blah blah blah. Anyways, 7 out of 10, just because it was okay. It wasn't one of my favorites. So next is Cherry-ba Bokura, more one-shots everywhere. So it's about this girl Chinatsu who ends up picking up a certain thing. She picks up a condom basically from this guy Shinpei and acts really brave about it, but yeah, it's not so good, but like, it's okay. I really liked it for what I thought it was okay for what it was. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. Next I'm going to talk about, it's a 1-point match with Choco. Another one-shot. It's about this girl Choco who wants to join kendo, but because she's really small, a lot of other people make fun of her for it. So she gets this guy Takanashi to teach her basically, and really cute little love story. So 7 out of 10, but also kind of meh. Next is Jimikoi, which was a one-shot, another one by Toyama Emma. It's basically about Wakana. Okay, Wakana ends up liking this, is really into like plain guys, and likes this guy Kagano, and they have like the same scarf, and every single guy that she ever likes ends up rejecting her, and it's really relatable in that way, because me too. So a lot of the let's just get this out of the way. So if you haven't already seen the haven't read the I have weird. A lot of these anime that, what's his face? It's getting to be really long. Let's see how fast I can get through. Hold on, I cannot read this for the life of me. Nope, not that one.